In this video, we are going to look into the multivariate analysis. So in the last video, you have seen as how we can perform the univariate analysis, that is picking up one column at a time. Now, multivariate analysis is like analyzing multiple columns at a single time. Now, while analyzing the multiple columns at a single time, we've got various methodologies. We've got EDA method and we also have the non-EDA methods as well. So to give you an understanding and to get started, see, when we talk about the multivariate analysis like a non-EDA method, so when I say non-EDA method, the common way that we try to analyze multiple columns at a time is with the help of group by. Now using this group by function, I can group my data frame according to a categorical variable, and then I can summarize the data on each part of the categorical variable. To illustrate the same, see, this is how my data set would look like. Now let us suppose that I want to group the data on the basis of the target column, and then I want to display the aggregation that is on each split that I would get. If I want to display the summary on each split, that is when I'll say aggregation. So if I'm interested in performing the aggregation, then I can simply write it as df.groupby, and here I'll be performing the group by on the column of target. And here, for the demonstration purpose, I'll consider a single column, let's say petal length. Now on this single column of petal length, what I'm going to do is I'll apply the aggregation. This time I want to apply the aggregation of mean, and I'll say median, count. Okay, so like this we can apply various aggregation. I'll say sum. So these are the commonly used aggregation function. Now if I execute this, it describes the mean, median, count and sum of each and every part after I have done the split on the basis of the categorical data. So we use this group by to perform the grouping on the basis of categorical data, and then along with that I'll be using the continuous value to perform the aggregation. Now while performing the grouping, I can also include multiple columns as well. If I use two columns at a time, it is called as the bivariate analysis. If I use more than two columns at a single time, then it is generally called as the multivariate analysis. Okay, so this is how I can perform the multivariate analysis, especially while I'm dealing with categorical and a continuous data. Now what happens if I have two categorical values? If I have to analyze two categorical values, some of the common ways is I can make use of pd.crosstab. So cross tabulation is one function which we use it, which will help us to display the frequencies of the matching classes. Okay, so in this way I can create a crosstab. In my example, I only have a single categorical variable, but if I have multiple categorical variable, then I can create the count plot or a frequency distribution table in this way, which tells me as how many number of rows are present with each combination of categorical values. Okay, this is called as cross tabulation. So this is for both the variables which are categorical. And apart from this pd.crosstab, we also have something called as a scatter plot. So scatter plot, as you know, it's a commonly used plot, and we use this scatter plot whenever we have got the continuous value versus the continuous value. So here, to demonstrate the same, I'm going to say sns.scatter. Okay, and this time I'll say data is equal to df. For my x-axis, I'm going to consider the petal length. Okay, and for y-axis, I'm going to consider the petal width. Okay, so here sns.scatterplot. So see, this has created a scatter plot for me. So I can create this scatter plot to visualize the relationship between two continuous variables. I can understand whether they follow the linear model. That means whether it represents the data, which is a linear relationship between two variables. I can understand the correlation between them. So like this, I can do the various analysis while creating a scatter plot. Now, apart from that, yes, I can also do a color coding as well for this scatter plot. So in order to do the color coding, I can make use of the parameter like hue, and I can say that, okay, do the color coding on the basis of a target value. So this is a color coded scatter plot. Okay, so that's how I can increase from bivariate to multivariate as well. And here, while working, okay, I can also create a scatter plot as well. Instead of doing the color coding, maybe I can create a facet grid as well. In order to demonstrate the same, I'll say sns dot facet grid. Here, data is equal to df, and for x and y, I'll mention these values. Okay, now for COL, I'm going to mention it as target. Okay, so in this case, sns.facet grid, we'll have to mention the data and the column in which that we want to create the multiple facets. Then what we have to do is we have to map it. So I'm going to say g.map, and inside the parenthesis sns.scatterplot. Okay, so for this scatter plot, I want to map it between the columns of petal length as well as the petal width. Okay, so in this way, I'm going to mention the same. See, this has created a facet grid. This kind of plot is called as a facet grid. Now, if I want along the rules also, I can consider another categorical variable and get the better visualization of the data set. And if I require, I can also do the color coding as well. So in this way, we can go ahead and perform the multivariate analysis. So this is another way to perform the multivariate analysis. So you can use all the univariate analysis that we have learned earlier, and on top of that, if you include multiple variables, it would become the multivariate analysis. So the core thing that you always have to remember is what is the type of data that you're already working. So if you're working with the continuous data, then analyzing the distribution of the data would actually make sense, and how the values are distributed, how one value is affecting another. So these are the common type of analysis that we do it in case of the continuous value. If you are dealing with the categorical data, then we'll mostly be interested in frequencies or creating the split based on the categorical variable so that we can analyze on the individual split. Now, while analyzing the individual split, to represent it in a numerical way, obviously we will look for the numerical data. An example can be grouping, or the another example is creation of facet grid, or color coding in terms of the categorical value whenever we are creating a scatter plot, or the similar thing can be applied on box plot. So this is the basic that you need to know whenever you are analyzing the data. Always remember what you are trying to get from the given plot. Instead of simply creating the plot, try to analyze what exactly the plot is saying. That will definitely help you going forward in your data analysis and become an effective way to analyze the data. Alright guys, so this was about the performing the multivariate analysis on a given data set. So I'll be attaching this file over here in your LMS as well. So go ahead and refer the code over here from the interface that I have shared the link in the description. Do check out the link in the description. So thanks again for watching. And in the next video, what we have is we will have a quick look into the steps in the EDA, the common steps that we follow in EDA. And then we'll have a hands-on on the exploratory data analysis. So we'll take up a data set and we'll do some cleaning activity on the data set, and we'll create some visualization so that you get a better idea about how we do the EDA. So I'll stop the video over here. In the next video, we'll take a look into the steps in EDA at a very high level. So see you next time.